to the city's port as an act of vandalism. They're urging Highways England to go back to the drawing board. It's a bypass. It's yet to be built, but it's been given full approval. It's designed to relieve congestion on one of the city's busiest roads, the A5036, which links the recently refurbished port with the motorway. The sticking point, though, is that the new bypass would cut through the middle of a much-loved green space called Rimrose Valley Park. Critics say it will sever the community and render the park as nothing more than two strips of land at the roadside. They're urging Highways England to look again at proposals for a tunnel instead. They say time is running out. Work is due to begin on the bypass in 2020. Perhaps you live in that part of Liverpool. How do you feel about the loss of that green space in such an urban area? Maybe you feel it's worth sacrificing to get some relief from the heavy traffic that clogs the roads. Or do you say, hang on, in the 21st century, all we know about new roads is that they increase traffic and we need to stop building them because it doesn't work. 08000 288 291, email vine@bbc.co.uk. Going to speak to Tim Gaiman from Highways England in a moment, but first I'm joined by Stuart Bennett from Rimrose Valley Friends, and good afternoon to you.
Hi, Jeremy.
So you've kept a very close eye on this.
Yeah, ever since the announcement was made at the end of August last year, it followed a consultation process that Highways England put forward. They only gave us two options, both of which were equally terrible, and this is the one that they decided to go with. So since that happened, we've been trying to raise awareness of that it is happening, both locally and nationally.
And you moved originally from North Wales, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
So you've got, regardless of the road, you've gone from pretty open area to a conurbation, and so you're quite sensitive about green space.
That's right, yeah. I mean, Rimrose Valley is on our doorstep, and it's something that was really important to me and my fiancée when we were looking for a new house. We've got an 18-month-old daughter, and we wanted her to have like the access to the countryside and green space that I grew up with and benefit from that. When I moved from North Wales over to Liverpool, I noticed that my occasional asthma became more serious, and I now need a steroid inhaler morning and evening, which is obviously not ideal, to say the least, and it means that I'm particularly worried about my daughter's health and the health of all the children and elderly in the area, because they're the ones at most risk of pollution.
And we've heard the reasons for the road, which is that it's got to relieve pressure on another road which comes from the port, and the port's been refurbished, and I guess in the end that seems like inevitably something's got to give, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't dispute that there's a problem. Obviously the roads are congested, but the project's called the Port of Liverpool Access Scheme, so it's being delivered to specifically help the Port of Liverpool. What we're saying is if you're going to go about that, you need to be considerate of the local population. It can't be done at any cost, and the cost in this case is to people's health.
And describe Rimrose Valley and what it means to you. You already said you like the idea of living near it. Do you go walking in it?
Yeah, I'd say between us, we take our daughter on Rimrose Valley at least 3 or 4 times a week, either in the running buggy, on the back of the bike in the summer when it's a bit less slippy. But yeah, it's a beautiful spot. It's a very large, but as you've described it, long stretch of land. There's a path down the middle, and then dozens of paths off to the side. It links communities. Children use it as a way to get to and from school. People use it as a way to get to and from work. It's an absolute haven for cyclists, joggers, walkers, people who love wildlife. It's just a beautiful place throughout the seasons.
Stay with us, Stuart. We've got Tim Gaiman on the line, who's Regional Delivery Director for the North West for Highways England. And did you have to go through the park, Tim?
Well, what we're trying to do here is, I think the description that's been given around the options that we've had and the purpose of the scheme, it's got multiple purposes. One is to actually relieve the congestion on the existing A5036. So one is to try to reduce the congestion. We used to get poor journey time reliabilities on the existing road. We had a high accident rate on the existing road. So we had to relieve the congestion on the existing road, and we wanted to support also, for the economic growth of the region, the new port development, which is recently opened, and it is growing. So the amount of freight traffic that's going to the existing port will increase. And we can't put that new freight traffic down the existing road because of the existing congestion we have. So we looked at options. One option was to can we improve the junctions on the existing road? Can we put underpasses? Can we find some way of improving the alignment to get the traffic down the existing road? And the alternative was to put a bypass that links the motorway to the port, which would relieve traffic on the existing road. Could we? That was one of the alternatives put forward. When we looked at those in balance, we looked at the costs, we looked at the benefits that were that each scheme had. The preferred option was to put it through, to put the bypass through Rimrose Valley.
But I understand. But if you look at the map, it's a very precious little finger of green you've got there, and you're going to put this freight right through the middle of it. So you essentially lose the whole thing.
What happened is when we work with local communities around how we try to mitigate any of the impacts of a scheme, we recognise, of course, that this is we're sensitive to the fact that we're proposing to build this dual carriageway on this, as was described, it's a much valued and used green space. But what we want to make sure is that we can work with the local communities as to how we might mitigate some of the impact of the scheme.
Stuart is right here. Stuart wants to say something.
Can I just come in there? I mean, the point to work with the communities was prior to this in the consultation process and delivering a suite of options that were sympathetic to the environment and sympathetic to people's health. What you've actually done, we're going down the route now of making you say it was the preferred option. It wasn't the public's preferred option. The public actually opted to develop the junctions on the existing road. So it was you held the consultation process and then ignored the outcome. What we're saying as a campaign is it's not good enough to either destroy the valley or improve the existing road, because the people along that road have suffered for a long time with noise, air pollution. There's cases of asthma, bronchitis, COPD. That we really need you to go back to the drawing board, to be honest, and come up with intelligent long-term solutions for this problem. We know there's a problem. We just want you to work with us to solve it.
You don't want to improve the existing road either. So what would your solution be then?
Well, Sefton Council have brought a judicial review of the consultation process on the grounds that not enough options were presented to the public, specifically a tunnel. The route that's been proposed through Rimrose Valley, a tunnel could be a solution. Now, I was reading the press release from Highways Agency before I came on the show, and Tim specifically said a tunnel option was never viable on the grounds of cost alone. Now, what we're saying, we've looked at other schemes that are taking place in the UK. There's the Lower Thames crossing, which admittedly the geography is different. They need to cross a river, so a tunnel is always going to be an option there.
Right.
But that scheme is costing £6 billion to deliver. The road through Rimrose Valley is being done on the cheap. It's £250 million, and it's a quick and easy way for Highways England to alleviate a problem.
Tim, in the end, do you think we'll take a valley out because it's cheaper? Is that how the thinking goes?
No, I think when you look at any scheme, what we're trying to do is to make sure that the benefits that the scheme delivers are in excess of the costs of the scheme. And typically we work on a ratio of, say, we need twice as many or more benefits than the costs. And this scheme is a viable scheme when the costs of the scheme are 250 million. The cost of a tunnel is 1.5 billion. So you get the same benefits, but you get a higher cost.
Okay.
And so that's why the tunnel option was actually discussed earlier on, and in 2014 it was discussed. It wasn't put forward as a viable option into the preferred routes simply because the benefits didn't justify the 6 times cost to construct it.
And that, I guess, Stuart, that in the end is the point.
Well, it depends really what price you want to put on public health. And personally, I think spending the extra money on a solution that is environmentally sound and protects the public is well worth it. As I say, we see massive disparities on public expenditure across the country. We see projects like Crossrail and HS2 having tens of billions of pounds thrown at them. The Lower Thames crossing, another one of Highways England's own schemes, is going ahead at a cost of £6 billion for their tunnel. Why is the public health health of the communities down in the south worth less in the north.
All right, now you're in a band called The Reeds, who we played on Radio 2. You're vocalist, guitarist with them, fantastic band. You've actually written a song about this, which we'll play, but just tell me what the song says and what drove you to do it.
Yeah, I realise this has got the capacity to be a terrible piece of cheese, but no, the reason I did it is that our community come up with lots of creative ways to oppose this road, and it's just the beginning. People make their homemade signs, they place them across the valley. People are doing their own artist impression, kind of taking the mick out of Highways England's artist impression of what the existing road can look like. What I wanted to do was something that was personal and creative to me, so I asked the Rimrose Valley Friends community on Facebook for their stories and put it in the form of a song. The reason I wanted to do that is because I hope it resonates with your listeners across the country, because everybody's got their own Rimrose Valley that they grew up with, so it's kind of hopefully describes what's at stake.
Stuart Bennett from Rimrose Valley Friends, thank you. Here's the song.
It's where I learned to ride my bike, the place we used to fly our kites, or kick a footy in the field and dream one day we'd play for real. We build our dens and jump from trees, play hide and seek, run through the leaves. Getting scrapes and love the chase, knew every inch of our own place. So many days like these, we scuff our shoes and graze our knees. And that's my Rimrose story, my Rimrose story. Met my wife to be right here, had our first kiss, shared our first beer. We'd go for walks and make up songs, sometimes the dog would come along. She loved the birds and flowers, she said, kestrels hovered overhead. Lie and stare up at the clouds and feel alone for miles around. Beneath the golden skies, we watch the dragonflies, and that's our Rimrose story, our Rimrose story. Now that I've become a dad, I think of all those times we had. We walk our dogs across the fields, she loves the birds and loves the leaves. How could I help her understand if they destroy this special land? There's this thing that I quite like, for her to learn to ride her bike right here. Another thing as well, and that's the chance for her to tell her own Rimrose story, her Rimrose story.
Well, that was sung and composed by Stuart Bennett from Rimrose Valley Friends, and I suppose it's a story that's local to Liverpool, so it may mean a lot to you if you're there, but there could also be a little patch of green where you are, and the arguments for paving it over And it's a little bit Joni Mitchell, this, isn't it? Pave paradise and turn it into a parking lot. But the arguments for doing that are, the cost arguments are almost irrefutable, but you feel something very, very precious is being lost. You just can't measure it in pounds and pence. And so we're talking here about Rimrose Valley, and thanks as well to Tim Gaiman, the regional delivery director, who did the tough old job of coming on the air and explaining why you've got to put a road through it. Alan Prince emails and says the road will destroy a country park. It's just so lorry drivers and motorists can go faster until that road gets choked with traffic and becomes another car park. Should people battle to save Rimrose Valley? It's a little, if you look on the map, it is a little finger, shape of Sweden, finger of land. Carolyn Smith in Liverpool, you've been using it since you were a toddler.
Absolutely, since I could walk. My mum and my brothers and sisters, we would walk across the valley. We'd follow like little ducklings across the park, walking back to where we lived in Waterloo. And now my partner James and I, we live on the doorstep. We use the country park all the time, runs by the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. It is a paradise. And what Stuart said, I absolutely, totally endorse and applaud. Now, my massive issue here is this is all about Peel Holdings and the money. It's the Chinese paymasters that are calling the tune.
Sorry, but you've got to explain it because we haven't mentioned Peel yet. That's the port, the people who own the port, is it? Right.
Liverpool too.
But surely the argument for the port is that is creating a lot of jobs.
Yes, but the big ships, the post-Panamax, the port has been open nearly 2 years, and the post-Panamax aren't coming in. My cousin actually works on the river, on the tugs, and he's said the tugs aren't, the post-Panamax are not coming.
Big ships, right. I see. Okay, thank you. Kate Parrott emails, I've grown up around Crosby. I've been lucky enough to enjoy many walks and bike rides across our beautiful Rimrose Valley throughout my childhood, and now with my own children. The wildlife that we get in our gardens from Rimrose is amazing, and this is going to be stolen from us by Peel Ports and Highways if the road goes ahead. Now, we've talked to the Highways guy. If you're Peel Ports, of course you can call and explain why you need the bypass. There's a bypass going through what seems like a very precious finger of Green Park. Steve Taylor is in Dalbeattie, Dumfries and Galloway, and you know that area from your time in the fire service, Steve.
Yes, hello Jeremy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I used to be based at the local fire station which covered the Royal Seaforth Container Base and also Rimrose Valley, and this was in the 80s and the early 90s, so I'm very familiar with the area. And I know for a fact that there's a railway line linked to the national railway system that goes into Royal Seaforth. So why can't this be upgraded? And so instead of one driver in his HGV taking one container by road, you can get one train driver towing 100 containers behind his train into the dock system and taking all that HGV traffic off the road.
Good point. Let's speak to Colin Jones in Liverpool as well. I don't know if you've got to defend the valley too, Colin. Is that where you live?
Yeah, well, it's not really where I live now, but I was born and brought up there. I live about 8 miles from Rimrose Valley, as it is, and there's two sides to the story, isn't it? You know, I can see where people are coming from, a small amount of green space that's going to get chewed up, but my grandfather, who's long since gone, he remembers when either side of the current road that accesses down to the Freeport, that's owned by Peel Holdings, remembers when that was all fields. And now it's the people who are living in the urban sprawl, really, which is what you've got there now, either side of that road. It's the people who have taken up what was originally green space who are now complaining about the road.
Yes, and I guess
you can't have it both ways.
Okay, I understand that, and also I guess we should underline the economic power of the port if it expands. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. The road that's there now was never did. The Freeport has expanded massively over the last 20-25 years, which is what everybody's been wanting for the last 25 years since the demise of Liverpool docks. The Freeport's gradually come up and up and up, and I just think now post-Brexit. There's an opportunity for the port of Liverpool to become great again, maybe not what it was before. And to do that, we need access to the port because the road that goes there now was never designed to take the amount of traffic. But I do take on board the point that the gentleman has just made, the guy who worked for the fire service. There is a rail link down to the port that is in a sorry state of repair. it is usable, but barely. You very rarely see a train use it with freight on. If that was built up, maybe that's another option.
Okay, thank you, Colin, very much indeed. Nicky Prince is in Caston in Norfolk and says there could be a tunnel or a bridge instead of a road. We've got to leave some green space for our children and for the future. These developers are hooligans. We did hear the cost, though, of a tunnel is not quite 10 times as much, but almost. Gary Milton in Liverpool says, I live in a housing estate right opposite the new road. Rimrose Valley used to be a landfill site. They've made it into a lovely park. It's going to be terrible to lose it and see it become a road. Lots of people saying the same thing and just worrying really about having an extra road. But what do? You've got a burgeoning port. That traffic has to go somewhere. Let's have a look. Sue Thompson in Seaforth says, I live within a stone's throw of Rimrose Valley. I'm dreading the new road that's planned to bring constant amounts of heavy traffic near my home. We already suffer with a fine black dust that covers our windowsills. This can't be good for anyone to be breathing it in day after day. I'm thinking of moving house. 1:30, Radio 2, the new song from Simple Minds.